by the fire with friendly desire, each other in love to greet. Old grudges forgot are put in the pot, all sorrows aside they lay. The old and the young doth carol this song to drive the cold winter away. When white-bearded frost hath threatened his worst, and fallen from branch and from briar, then time away calls from husbandry halls, and from the good countryman's fire, to gather, to go, to plow and to sow, to get us both food and array. And thus we content the time we have spent to drive the cold winter away.
Mankind has celebrated the heart of winter for 5,012 years. I know this because of the first rationalist solstice in a crowded New York City apartment. Raymond Arnold stood where I am metaphorically standing now and said that mankind had celebrated the solstice since the construction of Stonehenge 5,000 years before. And since then it's been 12 years. For 5,012 years, the world has been faking us out with sham apocalypses. Every winter, the days grow colder, the nights longer. Plants die, animals disappear. Plagues ravage the land. The leaves turn the color of blood, then fall from heaven like ash. And then every year, the world calls, "Psych!" And the days grow warmer and the nights grow longer and the plants and animals come back and we get another spring. The winter solstice celebrates the exact moment when the world calls psych, when our telescopes and star charts and giant stone circles tell us that the sun is coming back and it was just a prank again after all. Every year we celebrate another doom averted, another 12 months alive. We're here tonight to join in this custom of celebration, both the 5,000-year-old tradition of our ancestors and the 12-year-old one we invented ourselves. I'm glad you could be here with us tonight. No, really, I'm glad you're still here. The thing where the world has been faking us out with sham apocalypses has been getting a little bit more intense lately. I'm not even sure it's funny anymore. This past winter, we had a spike in a deadly pandemic. This spring and summer, a war involving a nuclear power. The less said about this autumn, the better. We made it through, only a little the worse for wear. Still, we all wonder whether one time it won't be fake. At that first solstice in New York City, Raymond asked us to contemplate whether mankind could make it another 5,000 years. Tonight, some of us are wondering whether we'll make it another 12. Still, whatever happens, we have made it through the darkest part of 2022. We may still die of other things, but we will not die of this. There's an old Jewish joke that all of our holidays have 3 parts. 1, they tried to kill us. 2, they failed. 3, let's eat. Rationalist solstice is like this too. The world tried to kill us. It failed. Let's sing.
We are going to be doing a lot of singing tonight. So if you'd all just warm up your vocal cords with me for a second, just pick your favorite note, and we're gonna hold it out all together, nice and strong. Oh, fantastic. Well, as Scott mentioned, mankind has been celebrating the solstice for a very long time. And in honor of the ancient people who awaited the return of the sun, often with fear and confusion about how the world worked and whether they would be all right, we're going to start by singing the text of an ancient hymn to the sun god, much like those same hymns that were sung around the stone circles 5,012 years ago. The tune is also taken from a recovered pre-Druidic chant. But if some of you happen to know it by chance, sing along. The sun is a guy who travels through the sky in a great big chariot of fire. It's getting pretty dark and we think he might be parting nothing but an everlasting night. The sun is sad, the sun is mad, the sun has gone off track. But if we party hard enough, perhaps we'll lure him back. We need his light, we need his heat, we need his energy. Without the sun, without a doubt, there'd be no you and me. The sun is a guy who travels through the sky in a great big chariot of fire. It's getting pretty dark and we think he might be parting nothing but an everlasting night.
I see we have a lot of pre-Druidic chant fans in the house. We no longer live in fear of the sun disappearing, but there are still many ways we could die. One of our movement's goals is to fight against X-risk, catastrophes so catastrophic that they could kill everyone in the world. Some of the members of the British branch of our conspiracy are leaders in this effort. Nick Bostrom, Toby Ord. I recommend Toby's The Precipice if you haven't read it already. This next song is dedicated to them, except we only mention Nick because Toby's name doesn't fit the rhyme scheme.
Hello. So, since the song was first written 12 years ago, a lot of things that we thought were X-risks are not quite X-risks. Like the latest blog post I read says nuclear war probably won't kill everyone. New Zealand will be fine. A lot of people think climate change is an X-risk, but climate change is actually only an X-risk, last I heard, if we try really hard to stop climate change, do a geoengineering project, really screw up the geoengineering project, and then a very bad thing could happen, and hopefully our civilization won't mess that up. We've got considered a new name for the song. But that's an objectively terrible name, so then we had an asterisk at the end instead. And I've lately become a fan of just, if you're trying to be truth-seeking and poetic, just shove asterisks everywhere you need. So this song is a stand up and wave your arms around kind of song. So I invite you all, if you think it might be fun, to stand up. And if you're like not sure if it's going to be fun, I recommend trying it out, and then you can sit back down. The situation is reversible. And if you're in the other room where you're like watching me from afar, you can still stand up over there. And if you're like in a living room just watching by yourself. You can even stand up and wave your arms by yourself, even if you feel a little bit silly. I want everyone to briefly wave their arms a little bit around to make sure they don't mess up their punch their neighbor. And now wave your arms a lot to make sure you just definitely won't punch your neighbor. Okay, cool. All right. The lyrics to this changed, and I don't quite remember them all, and I hope it works out. All right. All right. On the first day of Xmas, Nick Bostrom made me see the end of humanity. On the second day of Xmas, Nick Bostrom made me see 2 atom bombs and the end of humanity. On the third day of Xmas, Nick Bostrom made me see 3 asteroids, 2 atom bombs, and the end of humanity. On the fourth day of Xmas, Nick Bostrom made me see 4 volcanoes, 3 asteroids, 2 atom bombs, and the end of humanity. On the 5th day of Xmas, Nick Bostrom made me see 5 rogue eyes. Volcanoes, 3 asteroids, 2 atom bombs, and the end of humanity. On the 6th day of Xmas, Nick Bostrom made me see 6 labs a-leaking, 5 rogue eyes, 4 volcanoes, 3 asteroids, 2 atom bombs, and the end of humanity. On the 7th day of Xmas, Nick Bostrom made me see 7 seas a-rising, 6 labs a-leaking, 5 rogue eyes, 4 volcanoes, 3 asteroids, 2 atom bombs, and the end of humanity. On the 8th day of Xmas, Nick Bostrom made me see 8 nanites making, 16 nanites making, 32 nanites making, 64 nanites making, 128 nanites making, 256 nanites making, 512 nanites making, 1024 nanites making, 7 seas are rising, 6 labs are leaking, 5 rogue eyes, 4 volcanoes, 3 asteroids, 2 atom bombs, and the end of humanity. Thank you.
The solstice is the darkest night of the season, the night when we remember the fragility of existence. But it's also the first night of the year when we can honestly say that tomorrow will be brighter than today. The first night of the season when we can honestly say that. We remember that our ancestors cowered in caves, terrified of the cold. Now, we sing together in heated rooms, comfortable with our calendar that can predict the sun's course to a fraction of a second. Generations toiled and died to free us from having to fear the winter. We cannot possibly remember all of them. But one victory stands out. In the old days, winter was smallpox season. The disease would peak in January, ravaging villages, leaving thousands dead or disfigured. Thanks to the combined labor of millions of people, some of them geniuses who have passed into legend, others nameless laborers who neither sought nor gained recognition, we won a complete victory over the ancient enemy. Whatever else we fear or celebrate tonight, we cannot forget them. I would like to invite Anacha up for the Ballad of Smallpox Gone.
Old King Plague is dead, the smallpox plague is dead. No more children dying hard, no more victims living scarred with the marks of the devil's kiss. We still may die of other things, but we will not die of this. Raise your glasses high for all who will not die, to all the doctors, nurses too, and all the lab technicians who drove it into the ground. If the The human race does nothing else to cut this terror down. Old King Plague is dead. The smallpox plague is dead. No more children dying hard. No more victims living scarred with the marks of the devil's kiss. We still may die of other things, but we will not die of this. Now scarce the headline said the ancient foe was dead. Then they spoke of curses new, AIDS and SARS, Ebola too, and COVID rages on. 10 new plagues may take its place, but at least this one is gone. Old King Plague is dead. The smallpox plague is dead. No more children dying hard. No more victims living scarred with the marks of the devil's kiss. We still may die of other things, but we will not die of this. So no, we still may die of other things, but we will not die of this.
Thank you, Anna. One thing I recently learned about smallpox eradication: it was first proposed in the year 1780 by a weird Scottish villager who has come down to us only through his nickname, Johnny Notions. It would be 200 years before he could turn his notions into reality, but sometimes you gotta think big and try to do the impossible. Our next song is about doing the impossible. It's called The Mary Ellen Carter.
Not be lost to the knowledge her there, you see, to crumble into scale. She'd saved our lives so many times, living through the gale, and the laughing drunken rats who left her to a sorry grave, well, they won't be laughing in another day. And you, to whom adversity has dealt its final blow, with smiling bastards lying to you everywhere you go, turn to and put out all your strength of arm and heart and brain, and like the Mary Ellen Carter, rise again, rise again, rise again. Though your heart it be broken or life about to end, no matter what you lost, be it a home, a love, a friend, like the Mary Ellen Carter, rise again, rise again, rise again. Though your heart it be broken or life about to end, no matter what you lost, be it a home, a love, a friend, like the Mary Ellen Carter, rise again.
So one thing I really love about Mary Ellen Carter, the first time I listened to it, I couldn't tell whether that last verse went, no matter what you've lost, be it a home, a love, a friend, like the Mary Ellen Carter, rise again, or make the Mary Ellen Carter rise again. It's actually an important distinction, because one way you're recommending emotional resilience, and the other way, necromancy. I leave it to you to decide how you want to remember it. And our next song is an old favorite. I think of it as being about the rationalist virtue of lightness, willingness to change. Every year we sing it. Every year we nitpick it to death. Some people say it's too religious. Some people say it's too anti-religious. There's a verse about how torture broke Galileo's will. We sung it one year and somebody objected that actually he was only put under house arrest. So then the next year we changed it, and then somebody objected that house arrest is solitary confinement, which is a form of torture. There's a verse about how the tiny, humble insects will not tell us lies. My wife is an entomologist, and she wants you to know that insects are lying to us all the time. There are those moths with the giant eye spots on their wings to look like predators. There are fireflies that mimic the mating call of other smaller fireflies and then eat them. Insects are terrible. Still, each year we try to change the song a little bit, and I like to think that each year we get closer and closer to some kind of Platonic ideal. So, as we sing this tonight, remember that we are bound to past generations of rationalists in our shared belief that some concept, thing, entity, or abstract object may or may not have written the rocks.
And mountaintop, we trace the wide design. Strike, slip, fault, and overthrust, and sin and anticline. We gaze upon creation where erosion makes it known. Count the countless eons in the banding of the stone. Odd, long vanished creatures and their tracks and shells are found, where truth has left its sketches on the slate below the ground. The patient stone can speak if we but listen when it talks. Humans wrote the book of earth. Time wrote the rocks. There are those who name the stars, who watch the sky by night. the darkest place to better see the light. Long ago, when isolation broke his weary will, Galileo recanted, but the earth is moving still. High above the mountain tops where only distance bars, the truth has left its footprints in the dust between the stars. We may watch and study or may shudder and deny. Humans wrote the book of night. Light wrote the sky. By stem and root and branch we trace, by feather, fang, and fur, how the living things that are descend from things that were. The moss, the kelp, the zebra fish, the very mice and flies. Tiny, humble, wordless things, how shall they tell us lies? We are kin to beasts, no other answer can we bring. The truth has left its fingerprints on every living thing. Winnowed by a nameless game of birth and blood and strife, humans wrote the book of names. Death wrote life. We who listen to the stars or walk the dusty grave, or break the very atoms down to see how they are made, or study cells or living things, seek truth with open hand. The profoundest act of worship is to try to understand. Deep in flower and in flesh, in star and soil and sea, the truth has left its living word for anyone to read. So turn and look where best you think the story is unfurled. Humans write the book of truth. Truth writes the world.
Thank you, Taylor, Shay, and Lex. These last few songs have been a lot of longtime Solstice favorites. Our next song is something new. You might ask, in 5,012 years of solstices, can we really have something genuinely new? And the answer is yes, this next song is genuinely new. Our next song was written by an AI. I think if we're going to be sharing the planet with them, they deserve a part in our solstice celebrations. And if they're going to take over from us, they need to learn how to do it before they have to run the whole thing themselves. So I ran a bunch of Ray's old solstice songs through a language model, asked it to predict other text in the same style. Then Taylor and Shay, who are amazing, used something called Folk RNN to generate a melody for it, and it kind of sort of came together. So our next song is We Seek, We Strive, We Yearn by GPT-3 and Folk RNN.
So I'm going to be real with you. It did generate a melody. This particular neural net has not yet grasped singability, nor the idea that some syllables get emphasis and others don't. So we're gonna struggle through this together. Death seek, we strive, we yearn to grasp the future in our hands against the dying of the light, our torch of light forever. We built the means to save ourselves. We forged new tools. We wrote new code. We pried the secrets from ourselves. We conquered age and death as well. We shed the bonds of frail flesh. We grasped the reins of evolution. We took control of life itself and gained the gift of immortality. Relieved of death, we grow and thrive beyond lone earth. We reach new stars. We build great works that awe and dazzle. We forge new truths, explore, create. We seek, we strive, we yearn. The universe, our mighty playground, where humankind will always flourish in life, unending, limitless, and free. Thank you. It's better than you could do if you were a robot.
Thank you, Taylor. Thank you, Shay. And thank you, FolkRNN and GPT-3. Though just between you and me, I think Human Solstice organizers' jobs are safe for another year. So all that stuff we just did about X-Risk and smallpox was the not-so-dark portion of this event. Now we're getting into the night section. I have lit 4 candles representing the 4 seasons. At each of the speeches in this section, we'll blow one of them out. And when the last candle is blown out, we'll take a moment in silence and darkness before moving on. The night section is about death, and traditionally it's supposed to make you as miserable as possible. If you don't want to sit through this, you are valid, and you are welcome to leave the theater at this time. We will invite you back in when this section is over. In the past, we've always asked people to do this. Nobody has done it because maybe it's awkward to leave the theater in the middle of a performance. So this year I have asked an undisclosed number of audience plants to also leave the performance to provide the rest of you with social cover. Would all audience plants and people who don't want to be here for the night section please leave the theater at this time? Somebody will come out to fetch you, and you can go up there and follow the blue arrows. A couple other things. During this next section, please hold your applause. You can start again during the dawn section after the song Brighter Than Today. Our next song will be Bitter Wind Lullaby.
little one, bitter wind blown. 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 Sun barely rising above the horizon. Little one, bitter wind blown. Flowers are withering, naked bark brittle. Oh, little one, bitter wind blown. Don't understand why the light would abandon us. Little one, bitter wind blown. And I don't know how much more he may demand of us. Little one, bitter wind blown. Sun sailing away, I don't know where, I don't know why. Oh, sky darkening gray, wishing there weren't so many goodbyes. The sun sailing away, I don't know where, I don't know why. Sky darkening gray, wishing there weren't so many goodbyes. Little one, why? Little one, why? Asking me questions I don't have the answers to. Little one, bitter wind blown. Watching you shiver and I don't know what to do. Little one, bitter wind blown. Maybe if we did the dance, said the words just right. Little one, bitter wind blown. Maybe he'd come back, maybe things would be alright. Little one, bitter wind blown. The sun sailing away, I don't know where, I don't know why. Sky darkening gray, wishing there weren't so many goodbyes. The sun sailing away, I don't know where, I don't know why. Sky darkening gray, wishing there weren't so many goodbyes. Little one, why? Little one, why? Little one, why?
Thank you, Ray, Taylor, and Shay. 2020 and 2021 were unfortunately big years for the biosecurity part of our movement. But 2022 was about nuclear. Back in February and March, I know a lot of us were looking for places to flee, or stocking up on potassium iodide, or running a few more scenarios through nukemap.com than might have been strictly rational. This was in some sense a refreshing reminder. No matter how many exotic technologies we speculate about, the most likely way we all die literally tomorrow is still nuclear war. The last time any of this felt real to me was when I was in Hiroshima. There's a piece in the museum there called Human Shadow Etched on Stone. Someone was standing in front of a wall when the bomb hit, their body dissolved, and they just left a shadow on the wall. Our next song is called We Will Become Silhouettes by the Postal Service.
I've got a cupboard with cans of food, filtered water and pictures of you, and I'm not coming out until this is all over. And I'm looking through the glass where the light bends at the cracks, and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, pretending the echoes belong to someone. Someone I used to know. We become silhouettes when our bodies finally go. I wanted to walk through the empty streets and feel something constant under my feet, but all the news reports recommended that I stay indoors, because the air outside will make our cells divided at an alarming rate, until our shells simply cannot hold all our insides in. That's when we'll explode, and it won't be a pretty sight. We'll become silhouettes when our bodies finally go. We'll become silhouettes when our bodies finally go. We'll become silhouettes when our bodies finally go. We'll become silhouettes when our bodies finally go.
Thank you again, Taylor and Shay. I said before that despite our dreams of lasting another 5,000 years, not all of us are sure we'll make it another 12. How do you live in that situation? What do you do? We are not the first generation to face that question. In the midst of the Cold War, someone wrote to philosopher C.S. Lewis and asked him, given that we could all die in an atomic holocaust pretty soon, how do we go on living? I'd like to invite Clara Collier. Unfortunately, Kelsey Piper couldn't be with us tonight. I'd like to invite Clara up to read a slightly edited excerpt from Lewis's response called How Will the Bomb Find You?
In one way, we think a great deal too much of the atomic bomb. How are we to live in an atomic age? I am tempted to reply, why, as you would have lived in the 16th century, when the plague visited London almost every year, or indeed as you are already living in an age of cancer, an age of syphilis, an age of paralysis, an age of air raids, an age of railway accidents, an age of motor accidents. In other words, do not let us begin by exaggerating the novelty of our situation. Believe me, dear sir or madam, you and all whom you love were already sentenced to death before the atomic bomb was invented. It is perfectly ridiculous to go about whimpering and drawing long faces because the scientists have added one more chance of painful and premature death to a world which already bristled with such chances, and in which death itself was not a chance at all, but a certainty. If we are all going to be destroyed by a bomb, let that bomb, when it comes, find us doing sensible and human things. Working, teaching, reading, listening to music, bathing the children, playing tennis, chatting to our friends over a pint and a game of darts, not huddled together like frightened sheep panicking about bombs. When the bomb comes, let it find us doing well.
In a second, choir will be singing the hymn to Breaking Strain. It reminds me of an episode from our community's history, so I want to tell you the story now. Before there was less wrong, there was overcoming bias. And before there was overcoming bias, there was the Extropians mailing list. The founders of our community were there, people like Eliezer Yudkowsky and Robin Hanson. Another person there was a hotshot programmer named Hal Finney. He was one of the guys responsible for PGP, the cryptography protocol behind a lot of modern email. When Robin founded Overcoming Bias, Hal went with him. He wrote a lot of great posts there, including some of the first good stuff online about prediction markets. When Eliezer founded Less Wrong, Hal went there too. He wrote a few hundred comments, but only ever one top-level post. It was called Dying Outside, and it became the highest upvoted post in Less Wrong history and stayed that way for many years. I'd like to read it to you now. Recently, I received some bad medical news. Unfortunately, I have been diagnosed with a fatal disease, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS, sometimes called Lou Gehrig's disease. ALS causes nerve damage, progressive muscle weakness and paralysis, and ultimately death. Patients lose the ability to talk, walk, move, eventually even to breathe, which is usually the end of life. The process generally takes about 2 to 5 years. There are, however, two bright spots in this picture. The first is that ALS normally does not affect higher brain functions. I will retain my ability to think and reason as usual. Even as my body is dying outside, I will remain alive inside. The second bright spot relates to survival. Although ALS is generally described as a fatal disease, this is not quite true. It is only mostly fatal. When breathing begins to fail, ALS patients must make a choice. They have the option to either go on invasive mechanical respiration, which involves a tracheotomy and breathing machine, or they can die in comfort. I was very surprised to learn that over 90% of ALS patients choose to die. Even among those who choose life, for the great majority, this is an emergency decision made in the hospital during a respiratory crisis. Probably fewer than 1% of ALS patients agree to go onto ventilation when they are still in relatively good health, even though this provides the best odds for successful transition. It seems then that calling ALS a fatal disease is an oversimplification. ALS takes away your body, but it does not take away your mind, and if you are determined and fortunate, it does not have to take away your life. There are a number of practical and financial obstacles to surviving successfully on a ventilator, foremost among them the great load on caregivers. No doubt this contributes to the high rates of choosing death. But it seems that much of the objection is philosophical. People are not happy about being kept alive by machines, and they assume that their quality of life would be poor without the ability to move and participate in their usual activities. This is despite the fact that most people on respirators describe their quality of life as acceptable to good. As we have seen in other contexts, people are surprisingly poor predictors of how they will react to changed circumstances. This seems to be such a case, contributing to the high death rate for ALS patients. I hope that when the time comes, I will choose life. ALS kills only motor neurons, which carry signals to the muscles. The senses are intact, and most patients retain at least some vestige of control over a few muscles, with which modern technology can offer a surprisingly effective mode of communication. Stephen Hawking, the world's longest surviving ALS patient at over 40 years since diagnosis, is said to be able to type at 10 words per minute by twitching a cheek muscle. I hope to be able to read, browse the net, and even participate in conversations by email and messaging. I may even be able to write code, and my dream is to contribute to open source software projects even from within an immobile body. That will be a life very much worth living. I'll continue this story a little later. For now, the choir will sing Hymn to Breaking Strain. When they get to the last words, in spite of being broken, or because of being broken, rise up and build anew, think about Hal.
close measure. Let all who build beware. The load, the shock, the pressure, material can bear. So when the buckled girder lets down the grinding span, the blame of loss or murder is laid upon the man, not on the steel, the man.
But in our daily dealing with stone and steel we find the gods have no such feeling of justice toward mankind. To no set gauge they make us, for no laid course prepare. In time they overtake us with loads we cannot bear. Too merciless to bear. Are we only in creation? How much luckier the bridge and rail abide the twin damnation to fail and know we fail. Yet we by which sole token we know we once were gods. Take shame in being broken, however great the odds. Oh, the burden o'er the odds. Oh, veiled and secret power, whose paths we seek in vain, be with us in our hour of overthrow and pain, that we by which sure token we know thy ways are true, in spite of being broken, or because of being broken. Rise up and build anew. Oh, stand up and build anew.
I will now invite James Gray up to recite a poem, The Next War. This was written by Wilfred Owen just before he died in World War I.
The next war. Out there, we've walked quite friendly up to death, sat down and eaten with him, cool and bland, pardoned his spilling mess tins in our hand. We've sniffed the green, thick odor of his breath. Our eyes wept, but our courage didn't writhe. He's spat at us with bullets and he's coughed shrapnel. We chorused when he sang aloft. We whistled while he shaved us with his scythe. Oh, death was never enemy of ours. We laughed at him, we leagued with him, old chum. No soldiers paid to kick against his powers. We laughed, knowing that other men would come, and greater wars. When each proud fighter brags, he wars on death, for lives, not men, for flags.
Choir will now sing the song, Who by Fire. This is by Leonard Cohen. It's based on an old Jewish prayer about how each year God decides who will die by fire, and who by water, and who by every other cause of death.
By common trial, who in your merry, merry month of May, who by very slow decay, and who shall I say is calling? Who in her lonely slip, who by barbiturate, who in these realms of love, who by something blunt, who by avalanche, who by powder, who for his greed, and who for his hunger, and who shall I say is calling? Who by brave ascent, who by accident, who in solitude, who in this mirror, who by his lady's command, who by his own hand, who in mortal chains, who in power, and who shall I say is calling?
In a moment, I'll blow out this last candle and we'll spend a minute in silence and darkness. Before I do that, I'd like to finish the story of Hal Finney. Later in 2009, Finney posted the following comment to Less Wrong, again slightly edited for flow. There has been noticeable progression. My initial symptoms were in my speech, a slight slowing and breathlessness. Shortly after, my hands felt odd and a bit shaky while writing. This was stable, as I said, for a few months. But in the last 2 months, my voice has gotten much weaker and softer, and somewhat more slurred, and my hands, especially my right hand, have lost strength. It is annoying and worrisome that my initial symptoms are showing up in my voice and hands, the two most used and highest bandwidth sources of output available. Everyone's progression is different with this disease, so I don't know what to expect in terms of rate of progress or degree of disability at various points in the future. My whole plan revolves around retaining some degree of outgoing communication, but I had hoped to be able to wait until near the end of the progression to be forced to rely on the more exotic technologies. In 2013, he posted another update. Today, I am essentially paralyzed. I am fed through a tube, and my breathing is assisted through another tube. I operate the computer using a commercial eye tracker system. It also has a speech synthesizer, so this is my voice now. I spend all day in my power wheelchair. I worked up an interface using an Arduino so that I can adjust my wheelchair's position using my eyes. It has been an adjustment, but my life is not too bad. I can still read, listen to music, and watch TV and movies. I recently discovered I can even write code. It's very slow, probably 50 times slower than I was before, but I still love programming, and it gives me goals. Currently, I'm working on something Mike Hearn suggested, using the security features of modern processors to support trusted computing. It's almost ready to release. I just have to do the documentation. I'm pretty lucky overall. Even with the ALS, my life is very satisfying. My life expectancy is limited, but I'm comfortable with my legacy. In 2014, Max Moore posted this update to the Extropians mailing list. Hal made it clear that once he had lost the ability to communicate, he did not want his vital functions supported any further, but should be allowed to promptly be cryopreserved. Hal and Fran Finney arrived in Scottsdale, Arizona on Tuesday, where he was checked into the ICU of a hospital near Alcor. After administration of drugs to ensure no consciousness, his ventilator was removed. Hal's body kept going until shortly before 9:00 a.m. this morning, August 28, 2014. Immediately after pronouncement of legal death, Alcor's standby team went into action, restoring circulation, ventilation, administering an array of medications, and initiating external cooling. Surgery is currently underway to enable us to replace Hal's blood and interstitial fluids with cryoprotectant. Once perfusion is finished, we will be able to plunge Hal's temperature down past the freezing point without any significant ice formation. Once he's down to around -110 degrees centigrade, we will slow cooling and take a couple more days to reach the final storage temperature of -196 degrees. After that, Hal will be placed in long-term storage and cared for until the day when repair and revival may be possible. Hal, I know I speak for many when I say that I look forward to talking to you again sometime in the future, and to throwing a party in honor of your revival. And so we return again to the dichotomy between emotional resilience and necromancy. Again, I won't take sides. I'll say that the prediction markets Hal loved so much gave him a 6% chance, so the odds are slim. Still, here we are tonight, celebrating a holiday about how things that are dead and frozen sometimes miraculously burst forth into new life. I hope Hal gets his party at the end of the universe. All of this happened back in 2014, but I've been thinking a lot about it lately. This is the year where everybody started talking about death with dignity. I see light bulbs going on over some of your heads. Eliezer Yudkowsky and a couple of other community leaders said they thought that AI alignment wasn't going quickly enough and we weren't going to make it. I'll be honest, I don't like this phrase. I tend to side more with a lot of other really great people, Paul Christiano, Carl Schulman, Scott Aronson, who say that actually our chances are pretty good. But tonight is the darkest night of the year, and the phrase death with dignity has a certain way of clearing the mind. So I want to talk a little bit more about Hal. Hal's Less Wrong post wasn't just a story about grace and courage. It was also a story about rationality. They say despair is a moral vice, but it's also a rationalist vice. It's the opposite of the rationalist virtue of precision, which says that each new piece of evidence moves you exactly the right amount, neither more nor less. You start with a certain belief structure. Then you learn something new, like that you're going to die. Then you update everything by exactly the right amount. You don't fail to update. That would be denial. You don't over-update and land in a pit of infinite despair. The sun will still rise tomorrow morning, you'll still wake up, and you'll still have 24 hours every day to do what needs doing. You just think, conditional on this new fact, how do I live? Hal decided to live well. He decided to spend his remaining time with his family and working on the open source programming projects he loved and posting comments on Less Wrong. He hoped for a miracle, he fought hard, but he didn't depend on one. If there are still people around 5,000 years from now, I hope they say the same about us. Seriously, tomorrow morning I'll be back on the side of Paul Christiano and Ajay Kotra and Holden Karnofsky and all of these really great people who think we do have a fighting chance. The world has been faking us out with sham apocalypses for 5,012 years. Who knows, this could still be another. I still think tomorrow could be brighter than today, and brighter than we can even imagine. But if I'm wrong, and if we are all going to be destroyed by a bomb, let that bomb, when it comes, find us doing sensible and human things. Reading, working, teaching, listening to music, bathing the children, playing tennis, chatting with a friend over a pint and a game of darts, not huddled together like frightened sheep, panicking about bombs. When the bomb comes, let it find us doing well.
Nights ago, a woman shivered in the cold, cursed the skies and wondered why the gods invented pain. Aching, angry, flesh and bone, bitterly she struck the stones, till she saw that sudden spark of light and golden flame. She showed the others, but they told her she was not fit to control the primal forces that the gods had cloaked in mystery. But she would not be satisfied, and though she trembled, she defied them, took her torch and raised it high, set afire history. Oh, tomorrow can be brighter than today, although the night is cold, the stars may seem so very far away. But courage, hope, and reason burn in every mind, each lesson learned, shining light to guide our way, make tomorrow
tomorrow brighter than today. Brighter than today. Snow. Soon we had the time to fathom mountain peaks and tiny atoms, beating hearts, electric sparks, so much more to know. Tomorrow can be brighter than today, although the night is cold. The stars may seem so very far away. But courage, hope, and reason grow with every passing season. So we'll drive the darkness far away, make tomorrow brighter than today. Brighter than today. The universe may seem unfair, the laws of nature may not care. The storms and quakes, our own mistakes, they nearly doused our flame. For all these trials we've endured, with lessons learned, diseases cured. Against our Herculean task, we've risen to proclaim tomorrow can be brighter than today. Although the night is cold, the stars may seem so very far away. But courage, hope, and reason bloom across the world, and one day soon we'll rise up to the stars and say, make tomorrow brighter than today.
How did an unloving and mindless universe cough up minds who were capable of love?
No mystery in that. It's just a matter of natural selection.
But natural selection is cruel, bloody, and bloody stupid. Even when on the surface of things, biological organisms aren't directly fighting each other, aren't directly tearing at each other with claws, there's still a deeper competition going on between the genes. How could such a process create beings capable of love?
No mystery. There is never any mystery in the world. Mystery is a property of questions, not answers. A mother's children share her genes, so the mother loves her children.
But sometimes mothers adopt children and still love them. And mothers love their children for themselves, not for their genes.
No mystery. Individual organisms are adaptation executors, not fitness maximizers. Evolutionary psychology is not about deliberately maximizing fitness. Through most of human history, we didn't know genes existed. We didn't calculate our act's effect on genetic fitness consciously or even subconsciously.
But human beings form friendships, even with non-relatives. How can it be?
No mystery, for hunter-gatherers often play iterated prisoners' dilemmas, the solution to which is reciprocal altruism. Sometimes the most dangerous human in the tribe is not the strongest, the prettiest, or even the smartest, but the one who has the most allies.
Yet, not all friends are fair-weather friends. We have a concept of true friendship, and some people have sacrificed their life for their friends. Wouldn't such a devotion tend to remove itself from the gene pool?
You said it yourself. We have a concept of true friendship and fair-weather friendship. We can tell, or try to tell, the difference between someone who considers us a valuable ally and someone executing the friendship adaptation. We wouldn't be true friends with someone who we didn't think was a true friend to us, and someone with many true friends is far more formidable than someone with many fair-weather allies.
And Mohandas Gandhi, who really did turn the other cheek. Those who try to serve all humanity, whether or not all humanity serves them in turn.
That perhaps is a more complicated story. Human beings are not just social animals, we are political animals who argue linguistically about policy in adaptive tribal contexts. Sometimes the formidable human is not the strongest, but the one who can most skillfully argue that their preferred policies match the preferences of others.
That doesn't explain Gandhi, or am I missing something?
The point is that we have the ability to argue about what should be done as a proposition. We can make those arguments and respond to those arguments without which politics could not take place.
Okay, but Gandhi.
Believed certain complicated positions about what should be done and did them.
That sounds like it could explain any possible human behavior.
If we traced back the chain of causality through all the arguments, it would involve a moral architecture that had the ability to argue general abstract moral propositions like what should be done to people, appeal to hardwired intuitions like fairness, a concept of duty, pain aversion, and empathy, something like a preference for simple moral propositions probably reused from our previous Occam prior, and the end result of all of this, perhaps plus some mimetic selection effects, was you should not hurt people in full generality.
And that gets you Gandhi?
Unless you think it was magic, it has to fit into the lawful causal development of the universe somehow.
But, come on, doesn't it feel a little amazing that hundreds of millions of years worth of evolution's death tournament could cough up mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, husbands and wives, steadfast friends and honorable enemies, true altruists and guardians of causes, even artists sacrificing themselves for their art, all practicing so many kinds of love, for so many things other than genes, doing their part to make their world less ugly, something besides a sea of blood and violence and mindless replication. Perhaps, as you say, there's no surprise from a causal viewpoint, no disruption of the physical order of the universe, but it still seems to me that in this creation of humans by evolution, something happened that is precious and marvelous and wonderful. If we cannot call it a physical miracle, why shouldn't we call it a moral miracle?
Because it's only a miracle from the perspective of the morality that was produced, thus explaining away all of the apparent coincidence from a merely causal and physical perspective.
Well, I suppose you could interpret that way, yes. I just meant something that was immensely surprising and wonderful on a moral level, even if it is not surprising on a physical level.
I think that's what I said.
But it still seems to me that you, from your own view, drain something of that wonder away.
Then you have problems taking joy in the merely real. Love has to begin somehow. It has to enter the universe somewhere. It is like asking how life itself begins. And though you were born of your father and mother, and they arose from their living parents in turn, if you go far and far and far away back, you will finally come to a replicator that arose by pure accident, the border between life and unlife. So too with love. A complex pattern must be explained by a cause which is not already that complex pattern. Not just the event must be explained, but the very shape and form. For love to first enter time, it must come of something that is not love. If this were not possible, then love could not be. Even as life itself required that first replicator to come about by accident, parentless, but still caused, far, far back in the causal chain that led to you. 3.85 billion years ago in some little tidal pool. Perhaps your children's children will ask how it is that they are capable of love, and their parents will say, because we, who also love, created you to love. And your children's children will ask, but how is it that you love? And their parents will reply, because our own parents, who also loved, created us to love in turn. Then your children's children will ask, but where did it all begin? Where does the recursion end? And their parents will say, once upon a time, long ago and far away, ever so long ago, there were intelligent beings who were not themselves intelligently designed. Once upon a time, there were lovers created by something that did not love. Once upon a time, when all of civilization was a single galaxy and a single star and a single planet, a place called Earth, long ago and far away, ever so long ago.
Thank you, Mike and Hannah. And thanks to all of you, as I said, for going through that with me. And as I said, I don't think this is just a question of doom versus survival. I think this is a question of doom versus something better than we have now. Immortality, post-scarcity, intergalactic civilization. What kind of songs might we sing at a solstice 5,000 years from now? Well, I actually cared so much about that I asked our friends at the Future of Humanity Institute to simulate it on their supercomputer. The good news is they were able to return the program of all future solstices from now until the end of time with 99.9% accuracy. The bad news is we're in their simulation right now. No, sorry. I mean, the good news is they were able to give us a solstice song from the year 5 billion AD. It is made of sentient musical thought forms incomprehensible to mortal minds, but if by some chance you are able to sing it, feel free to sing along.
The sun is an ember we barely can remember, an old and venerable story. We left it behind when we uploaded our mind and we came into our glory. The sun is gone, but we live on another billion years. It's plenty bright, it's plenty warm inside our Dyson spheres. We're not too sure what winter is, the records aren't clear, but still we sing this silly song and party once a year. The sun is an ember we barely can remember, an old and venerable story. We left it behind when we uploaded our mind and we came into our glory.
Sorry, I've been informed that was not, in fact, a solstice song from the year 5 billion AD, predicting the future of humanity in every particular. Let's try again.
Things that men were never meant to see. My senses and my faculties I'll augment with machinery. Auditory, optical, touch and taste, olfactory, converting into data streams and floating bits of binary. Every piece of food you taste and every thought you cogitate, every sound that you can hear at sight you see for years and years, all stored up so on petabytes of memory, so you can always reference them in case you forget anything. happiness can be enjoyed by anyone forevermore. And you live in whatever state that you or anyone creates. You can be a giant squirrel, a statue, or a talking cat, the good pure blimp, an etch-a-sketch, an octopus, or a brain in a vat. You keep all the memories and feelings that you ever want, and now you can commence your life as an uploaded extropian. Singularity, 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 oh, I don't know. Singularity, 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 oh, I don't know. My mother is so horrified by this post-human fantasy. She says we'd lose that special thing that makes us human beings be.
But I don't know, I'm not so sure if humans are so good and pure.
Perhaps we'd be much better off if we took these violent bodies off. Once everyone is in the cloud, we'll move beyond this earthly ground, expanding into outer space as an informational signal race. We're in the solar system, converts into computing mass, and the sun becomes the central orb above a brain that grows into the vast expanse of space and emptiness for light years and light centuries that replicates exponentially like a Russian doll in a cosmic truth. Once every spot of the universe is filled up, it will probably burst, eradicating finally the experiment that we grew from Earth. As it explodes, the brain will breathe into the dark impossibly, and antimatter all around will collapse the universe back down. Then right away, what you would see if you were a fly in the vacancy is all the light and matter in the universe. It's collapsing and time would stop.
And from a tiny pinhole point, a massive bang erupts in space.
And trillions of new particles fly away at photonic pace. And once again the clock would start to tick and talk and tick and talk, and years would pass, billions or more, before the tiny protein. And once again in the boiling sea of a minuscule blue anomaly, a planet floating helplessly around a tiny ball so fiery, an unextraordinary corner of the universe would cradle it, the flicker of intelligence that led us here and brought us this singularity, singularity,
Singularity.
singularity, oh, I don't know.
Singularity.
Singularity,
Singularity.
singularity, oh, I don't know.
Singularity.
Singularity,
Singularity.
singularity, oh, I don't know.
Singularity.
Singularity,
Singularity.
singularity, oh, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
I think we got it right that time. Thank you, Taylor, Shay, Claire. And I see we have a lot of out-of-towners in the audience tonight. One thing you need to know about the San Francisco Bay Area is that sooner or later, every conversation degenerates into being about cryptocurrency. Is it good? Is it bad? Ugly? Let me say a couple things first before we get to the blindingly obvious in favor of the good. A lot of our favorite community organizations, MIRI, Litecoin, whichever AI safety labs haven't gone evil yet, have been supported a lot by crypto donations. Some of our biggest donors are people like Vitalik Buterin, Jan Tallinn, and Jed McCaleb. We're extremely grateful for them, and if we make it through crunch time, it may be because some of these people had billions of dollars when we needed it most. Then there's the bad. Ponzi schemes, carbon footprints, Twitter spam. But this year was mostly about the ugly. The FTX collapse really hurt. Partly that was because we were victims and we lost a lot of money. Partly because some of the people involved were our friends and they betrayed us. And partly because we have to wonder whether our ideology was complicit in this catastrophe that caused a lot of people a lot of harm. We rationalists have many bad qualities. We are obsessive, nitpicky, out of touch, impractical, annoying. But until last month, nobody would have ever said dishonest. Now we face one of the most basic questions of rationality. How hard do we update? And if we can't get it perfect, do we err on the side of trusting too much or trusting too little? I can't answer those questions tonight. Instead, I want to tell you all a different story about crypto. Cryptocurrency was invented by Satoshi Nakamoto, international man of mystery. There's been a lot of speculation about his identity, but one name stands out. It's the first person listed on his Wikipedia page. It's been the subject of articles in Wall Street Journal and Washington Post. It's the most commonly cited name in the Bitcoin community itself. That person is our friend Hal Finney. The evidence in favor, and sorry, those of you who skipped the night section, your friends can fill you in later, but the evidence in favor, Hal had been trying to create some kind of cryptocurrency ever since 2004. He was talking about it on all of the cryptography forums. The first Bitcoin transaction recorded on the blockchain was from Satoshi Nakamoto's account to Hal's. Hal worked together with Satoshi so closely and so often that people were speculating that they might be the same person. Finally, Satoshi kept $20 billion in Bitcoin and then never spent any of it, which would make more sense if he died tragically in 2014. I have to be honest, I don't fully believe this theory. For one thing, Hal always denied it, and he was an honest guy. For the prediction markets give it about 25% chance of being true. Still, if Hal wasn't Satoshi, he was at the very least Satoshi's right-hand man, the guy who turned his ideas into reality. All that software that Hal was staying alive to write, that was the first Bitcoin client, and he already knew how important it would be. It was worth 40 cents at the time, and he was saying it would one day break $1 million. Now it's at 20,000, 17,000, 25,000. Hal wasn't just spitting in the face of death. Hal wasn't staying alive just to spit in the face of death. I mean, he was doing that, definitely. But also, he had something to protect. He believed that the magic internet money he was working on could one day preserve privacy, defend democracy, topple dictatorships, and who knows, maybe help his weird friends get billions of dollars when they needed it most. I guess what I'm saying is, whatever your reference class, the rationalist community, cryptocurrency, humanity, remember that it contains people like FTX, but it also contains people like Hal. I think if the world is destroyed, it will be destroyed by people like FTX, powerful people playing games they don't fully understand, using everyone else's lives as table stakes. But I think if the world is saved, it might be saved by people like Hal, ordinary people working under impossible conditions with something to protect. And one more moral. In his Death with Dignity post, Eliezer writes that you don't die with dignity by setting out as your goal to die with dignity. You die with dignity by setting out as your goal to win overwhelmingly, and then, if along the way you die, it was with dignity. But when you set out as your goal to win overwhelmingly, one thing that very, very occasionally happens is that you do, in fact, win overwhelmingly. Not always, and we're not supposed to demand any specific miracle. Still, if you think it's impossible, just remember Hal, paralyzed, half dead, programming Bitcoin with his eye muscles. And remember, it's happened before. Our next song is Battle Hymn of the Rationalist Community.
Mine eyes have seen the glory of the works of humankind. We've lifted up whole countries through the labors of the mind. Faiths and empires rise and crumble. In the end we always find the truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. The truth is marching on. They murdered Archimedes with his circle still undone. How much loftier now the circles where his children's children run. They arrested Galileo, but they couldn't arrest the sun. The truth is marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. The truth is marching on. They tore down Alexandria of libraries the first, and the Mongol hordes raised Baghdad and its learning was dispersed. But now there's Wikipedia, so Genghis do your worst. The truth keeps marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. The truth is marching on. So despite the many setbacks we encounter on our way, we still believe tomorrow can be brighter than today. The quest is not forgotten, we continue come what may, as truth goes marching on. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. The truth is marching on.
Thank you, Ben. One thing that bothered me about that last speech with Hal Finney and Bitcoin, it is inspiring to hear stories of people whose projects went very well, but most of us are working on normal projects, important enough that they have to be done, probably not important enough to make us $20 billion or a page in the history books. Lots of people here are working directly on effective altruism and existential risk, and you are great. Other people are in support roles, ops, recruitment, earning to give. Some people are writers trying to promote the effort, or coders keeping the internet running, or parents and teachers raising the next generation, or ordinary people just keeping the economy running and the lights on. Some people are just providing moral support. This next song is about those people. It's called Somebody Will, and it's by Ada Palmer, who you might know as the author of the Terra Ignota books. If you've read them, you can think of it as kind of the utopian national anthem. I've stolen it from the Seattle Solstice, and I've kept their one edit.
world is so close. Mars has treasures we're only just starting to find. Frozen mountains and crimson dust waiting for footprints that will not be mine. 100 years to run the first tests, another to raise the first dome. The moon, then Mars, then Titan next, a lifetime to touch each new home. And I want it so much. Close my eyes, I can taste the Mars dust in the air. In the darkness, the space station shimmer in orbits that I will not share. But I'll teach the student who'll manage the factory that tempers the steel that makes colonies strong. And I'll write the program that runs the computer that charts out the stars where our rockets belong. It will never get easy to wait for my dream when the future I dream of is so far away. But I am willing to sacrifice something I don't have for something I won't have, but somebody will someday. And it feels like a waste, all this working and waiting and battling time, and all for a kingdom that all of my efforts will never make mine. But brick by brick the pyramids rose, with most hidden under the sand. So life by life the project grows in ways I might not understand. I am voyaging too. We will need the foundation as much as the dome for those worlds to come true. And I'll clerk the office that handles the funding, that raises the tower that watches the sky. And I'll staff the bookstore that carries the journal that sparks the idea that makes solar sails fly. It takes so many sailors to conquer an ocean, and so many more when it's light years away. But I am willing to sacrifice something I don't have for something I won't have, but somebody will someday. It's so easy to hide away in my books, games, and fantasy plans. Let them call me a coward who can't face reality's grown-up demands. But if I love my fantasy world, it's not fantasy love that I feel. And so much more I feel for this, the world that created them, world we create with them, one chance to make them all real. And I know we won't stop. We've planned too many wonders for one little star. Though often the present may seem too complacent to take us that far. But I'll write the story, and I'll draw the picture, and I'll write the anthem that banishes doubt. To sing at the solstice that summons the family, that carries the fire that never burns out. There are so many chances to give up the journey, especially when it's so easy to stay. But I am willing to sacrifice something I don't have for something I won't have. And not only me, but we are willing to sacrifice something we don't have for something we won't have. So somebody will, so somebody will someday.
That was the 2022 winter solstice. Before our last song, I want to thank everyone who helped tonight. Please come up as I call your name so we can applaud you, unless you're running the video stream or something, in which case stay exactly where you are. Shauna Kravik ran logistics, including the venue, tickets, and food. Nova, aka the girl reading this, ran audio. If you're watching this from the overflow room or at home and you can still hear it, please thank her. Rachel, Alex, and Eli ran video. If you're in the overflow room or at home and you can see this, thank them. Alex Wolf was our planetarium liaison and ran the lighting. Actually, hold your applause till the end. Claire Wang coordinated the music and everything else that needed coordinating. Our sing-alongs were led by Taylor Smith, Shay Gestall, Ray Arnold, Anna Che, Lex O'Halloran, Ben Pace, Robert Mushkablatt, Oliver Habrika, and Jay Quigley. And of course, choral performances. Thank you so much to Blake Jones and the members of the Bayesian Choir. Speeches tonight by Kelsey Piper, James Gray, Clara Collier, James Gray, Mike and Hannah Bloom. Thanks to our volunteers, including Laura Vaughn, Luke Wilson, probably other people who didn't give me their names in time, but you can still come up. Thank you to Raymond for founding this institution 12 years ago, and thanks to Raymond, Claire, and a whole group of Solstice elders who held my hand and made it happen. I'm Scott Alexander, and thank you to my wife Megan for putting up with me over the past few months as we worked on this, and for being the entomology consultant. And of course, thanks to everyone I forgot, and especially to all of you who came here tonight or are at home celebrating with us. One other exciting thing which happened this year, which I didn't get a chance to mention, is that Lightcone Infrastructure bought the Rose Garden Inn. I'm trying to think of what those people at that first solstice in New York would have thought if a time traveler had told them 12 years later we would be having our solstice after party in a beautiful 40-room hotel that our community owned. This is true, and we're going to do it. It is at 2740 Telegraph. If you can't remember that now, we'll tell you after the ceremony. Thanks to Lightcone Infrastructure and Misha Gurevich for setting that up. And now everyone stand up. Put your arm around the person next to you if that's something you and they are comfortable with. And we are going to sing Here Comes the Sun.
Sun, I say it's alright. Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter. Little darling, it seems like years since we've been here. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, I say it's alright. Little darling, you see the look into their faces. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. it's alright.
That's it, go home!
We have this place for some amount of time. You'll know when it's over because they'll kick us out. Everybody is invited to the